I didn't deserve that. I mean, he was a nice guy, California, a nice life. He had money, obviously. He was going to be great. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? I don't get that. And God, what are you thinking? Why did you do that to me? Why would you give me the promise of that and take it away? What? So this is my thinking. It's insane, and I know that. But I'm going to get back at God. And the only way I need to do that was just mess with his kids. There was some men trying to get sober at the clubhouse. No, it's not funny. It is not funny. And I did what I did. And I took them away. One of them never came back. He never came back. He was ashamed. The other one came back. And I was at a conference sneaking and hiding and hating all y'all and sitting in the meetings saying if I wrote. You know, I sat in meetings saying that stuff when it came my time. I know what to say. In the back of it was, you were just sick. You're stupid. This doesn't work. And I was sitting in Lake Brownwood on a blanket with my sponsor. And I was sitting in the meeting and somebody handed her a note. One of them had called and was snitching on the other. And I was caught, in other words. And she said, "What are you doing?" Just with complete disdain. And I told her what I was doing. She made me go tell Jack. Now I'd rather do anything than tell Jack. Anything. And I had to tell him. And he told me this. He said, "Talk out." That was my nickname. He said, "You know, if you got to do that, take it out of AA. Don't do it here. Here is where we save people's lives. If you need to do it out there. Not in here. This is sanctified ground." And so I sat on that blanket with my sponsor and we were on. I said, "I just feel like God betrayed me." She said, "Really? Do you think you betrayed God?" And I heard that. Why that sentence, why that day, I don't know. And then I said to her, "Pat, I've got something to tell you that I've never told anybody, and this is a truth, and I don't know why this is. But I am unlovable. I mean, my mom doesn't love me. My daddy puts up with me. My kids don't love me. You know, people have been around me and they stay for a while, but eventually they all leave because I am unlovable." And I started sobbing. Y'all know what I mean, sobbing. Not crying, sobbing. She pulled me over. She's this little teeny tiny person. She pulled me over, put my head on her shoulder, and she just kind of started rocking me. She said, "Oh, no, that's not so." She said, "Because I love you. And I know all your warts. And if I love you with my kind of love, just imagine how God loves you." And that worked. I don't know why that worked. I don't know why I heard it. I don't know why I felt it. Don't know what happened. But I believed everything she said at that moment. And I knew God loved me. I knew it down to my core that God loved me. And I got it from there, and as we were going back home, I said, "God, if you just let me go back to my group," because there was people who knew what I was doing, and they were really wanting to ask me to leave. They couldn't, but they wanted to. And they were disgusted with me, as they should be. And I just went back, and I started doing what I'd always done. I started coming early, put up chairs, make coffee, stick out my hand, and say, "What can I do for you? What can I do for you?" Mary Ann said yesterday in the workshop, it's that St. Francis prayer, "Let me love instead of being loved." I mean, try to be loved. Let me understand you, trying to be understood. Just let me give instead of trying to take. You know, if you'll just let me be here. And let me tell you, I still feel that way today. Anything I can do here, I'll do it. You ask me, it's okay. My answer is okay. That's it. It's the least I can do. It's just the least I can do. And slowly, I started getting myself put back together. And as I did, and it took 2 years, Jim came back in my life. And this time I caught that old fool. And we got married. And he brought me 2 sick kids, grown of course, Jim Jr. and Sheila. And we set up to be Mr. and Mrs. AA in Alanon and moved to Norman, Oklahoma, and we had an active life. We hammered out of marriage. Let me tell you, we hammered out of marriage. Because I thought y'all acted like at home what you do when you're in a meeting. It took us a long time. He's a rager and I'm a rager. Good Lord. Certainly wasn't. He had to abandon his children in his drunkenness. They grew up in foster homes. And I said, let's pay back. And we started taking care of those kids, and he was a great grandfather. Jim was a great grandfather. And she met another guy there, a young man. They got married. She has another son. They're still there. My grandson's 21 years old today, Brad. Oh, he's 24. He's been in and out of AA. Sheila, right after she got to non-alcohol, discovered her own alcoholism, started going to AA. She has 23 years coming up. Many of you know her. And those of you who do know her, if you say a prayer for her, I sure appreciate it. Sheila's in trouble. You know, there's other things that hit you. I don't care how many sobriety, years of sobriety have. You know, life happens. Sheila is a magnificent, magnificent woman. She sponsors tunneling. I'm sure there's many of you people here who have heard her. She has a magnificent story. She helps women like no other person I've seen help women. But she's got another addiction that's hit her, and it's really hurting her, and she's in trouble. I sat on a porch a few weeks ago, and it was one of those wraparound porches, and I couldn't see, but I could hear her talking to some gentleman, and he was trying to tell her about some forgiveness that he'd gone through, and he told her, "You were the most spiritual people I've ever seen, and I hate to see you so hurting." And she's young, spiritual bankrupt, and we'll talk about it in a minute. She said, "You know what? I just don't know how to get back there." And that just, just broke my heart. I've just been thinking about it ever since. She doesn't know how to get back there. If y'all could pray and help her find a way, I'd appreciate it. And Brad, her son, she's so upset about him not being sober. And he smokes, I always get this mixed up. Is it crank or crack? Crack. What? Not crack. Crack. And he's been smoking so long that, his face is gone. I mean, he's just changed. It's dark. It's not Brad. I mean, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And we're both afraid he'll not get back. My daughter Tracy, she grew and grew and grew in her alcoholism, and she got sober and met a man on my AA campus, and they got pregnant, they got married, they got divorced, and Jim and I got laid, and we helped raise my granddaughter Charday. My granddaughter Charday is 21 years old, and today she has 37 days sober. The same age as that young lady. And Albert Myers told my daughter came to a convention with me when she was still drinking in Lubbock. She popped in to see me, and she heard the story, and she took her desireship at that convention. A man named Albert Myers, 12-stepper, and Albert told her, and she told me, Albert said, there is a little piece of white velvet that God puts in every woman's heart. And it's white, and it's velvet, and it's just gorgeous. And God doesn't allow anything to touch that white velvet. And you remember that. You have white velvet in your heart. And I could not wait the next day. I went and bought some white velvet, put it in a frame, and gave it to her. And I can't wait to get home and get some white velvet and put it in a frame and give it to my granddaughter. Jim Jr. has 5 years of sobriety. His dad didn't get to see him get sober. So my kids, they're doing the deal. Tracy and Sheila, 12-step, my niece, the one that her dad killed himself, he quit speaking to my niece many years ago, as he never spoke to me again. My brother, when I had my daughter, he quit speaking to me. And when my father died, it's like 26 years later, the only thing he ever said to me in all those years, he came and he said, "Would you like me to go get your kids out of school and tell them Daddy died?" I said, "Would you please?" It was the only kindness he ever showed me in my adult life. But he did that for my children. And my children 12-stepped him, his daughter. And it's just, just a never-ending thing. I have another grandson, Jim Jr.'s grandson. I tell you, there's just moments that just stand out in your mind. One weekend, my grandson Marcus was in jail in California, and Brad, my grandson, was in jail in Oklahoma. Same weekend. But let me tell you something. One of my finest hours was in Canyon Conference last year. Tom was there. My whole entire family, all my kids were in one row. All of them. My grandsons, my daughters, my son, my stepson, my son showed up. My nieces, my nephews, they were all there. And from that day to this, I have released my children because they know y'all. Y'all got them. You got their back. I got your kids back, okay? I mean, they're okay. I know they're going to be okay. So deep just for that. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. My time's up. I could tell you a lot more. I'm like everybody else. There's so much there's not, but my time's up. I made a promise to a man named Bob White. He told us at the Canyon Conference. Jim and I started that many years ago. He was the first speaker, and on Sunday morning, he talked about the Lord's Prayer. Let me tell you, the Lord's Prayer is part of my heritage. And I miss it, but specifically, every Wednesday night we hold hands, we say the Lord's Prayer, and there's 1,200 people. And when they finish that, they look up and they grin. And my husband held a guy named Byron. He held his hand every Wednesday night till he died. And every Wednesday night, those two men looked at each other, and they would grin and say, "Keep coming back. It works." They said it to each other. So it doesn't offend me when y'all say that, because when you say that, I see my husband and I see Byron say, "Keep coming back." And I love that. I love it. And Bob said this. We say the Lord's Prayer after every meeting. He said, instead of saying it, why don't you pray it? We say, "Our Father," and then he said there's a line that says, "The kingdom and the power and the glory forever." He said, if there's a father there who's a king, it means that you and I are a child of a king. That makes us a prince and a princess. He said, we need to claim our heritage. And I was listening to that because I always had, and still have, trouble with my self-worth. And I thought, I'm going to do that. He said, and the power is in these rooms. Whether we feel it or whether we don't, it's in us. It's in us. And I feel it. I felt it all weekend long. And the glory is God himself, and we give that glory to each other. And I thought, that's true. I am a child of the King. I am Princess Vannoy. That is my heritage, and it's the heritage that you've allowed me to give my children. I love you, and thank you for having me.